I don't know where I am. I don't know when I am. I can hardly remember anything from the last few days. The last thing I remember is a flash of light and these strange people grabbing me, and then I woke up here, wherever here is. Maybe I died. Is this what dying feels like? Nothing? If I am dead, where are my parents? And why is my brother here, lying in the bed next to me? All of these things raced through my mind until suddenly I was pulled out of my thoughts. Oh, you are awake? Good. A young-looking woman, maybe early 20s, entered into the room, looking at me intensely. I said nothing, just watched as she paced towards my brother's bed. I see your brother's not awake yet. He'll be awake soon. Where am I blurted. There's plenty of time for questions. Now, rest. She soothed. With a slight smile and a reassuring look, she was gone. Am I seeing things? Was she real? I think so. I don't think I'm crazy. I remember my parents hallucinating right before they died. Maybe I have whatever horrible disease they did. The horrible thing that ripped them from my brother and I and sent us in the town where these strange people came and took us. I tried to think back to all the events preceding lying in this place. All of my thoughts were confused and clouded. I remember finding two very cute rats in the field behind my house. I brought them home and Father let me keep them and feed them a tiny bit of our bread and cheese. 2 days later, my parents became very ill. It was a disease I had never seen before. It was horrible. A day after that, they both died. My mother had told my brother and I to go find our aunt and uncle in a small town we lived outside of. We packed a few of our things, and those poor rats, in a bag that my mother had given to me, a bag that was very special to me for some reason that I will now never know. We walked to the town, and after 2 hours of searching, we found my mother's sister and her husband. We were there for less than an hour before those awful people came and took us. That's the last thing I remember before waking up here. Hello? Again, I was pulled from my thoughts, this time by a man. Care to tell me where I am? I retorted. He smiled, and this made me angry. Where am I? I shouted this time. Calm down. There is plenty of time to answer your questions, and I am just the man to do so. He tried to give me a reassuring look. I didn't feel reassured. You are on the island of Rendraft. You and your brother are safe here. Why? Why are we here? I just stared at the man. Who are you? Suddenly I was struck by a thought. Where is my bag? You are here because it's safer here. My name is John. He nodded to the corner, and I whipped my head around and saw the bag. I breathed a sigh of relief. That was, after all, the last thing I had left of my mother. It was my security blanket. What do you mean safer? Where are my aunt and uncle? There's plenty of time to answer these questions. Now, just rest. He smiled at me again and left. Hours went by, and soon I didn't feel like resting. My brother still wasn't awake, and I wanted to walk around. I jumped out of my bed, grabbed my bag, and hurried out of the door. It was dark outside, and as far as I could tell, there was no one around. That is, until a hand clasped over my mouth. I tried to let out a scream, but I couldn't find my voice. I was being pulled into a small hallway. Shh, I'm not going to hurt you, a voice whispered. I wheeled around to see the most gorgeous pair of eyes I had ever seen. The hand pulled away from my mouth. Please, don't make a sound. I nodded. So you're the new girl? Yeah, I guess so. I don't really know what's going on, I said honestly. Have you seen and talked to John yet? He asked. Yes, but he didn't tell me anything, I responded. Typical. He rolled his eyes. He's like that. I'll tell you what you need to know. Honestly, this was the most attractive boy I've ever seen in my entire life. I had no idea where I was or what was going on, but I felt the strangest sense of peace. Why am I here? I said simply, wanting to melt into his eyes. Because you're evil, he stated, just like he was telling me the sky was blue or the grass was green. What? I stammered. Shh, you have to be quiet, he hissed. What? I hissed back. Yeah, you're evil. You did something to hurt all of humanity. The people here came up with a way to go back in time and stop what you did from happening, and they took you here to stop it. I stood with my mouth hanging open and stared at him. I must have looked like an idiot, but he didn't seem surprised by my reaction at all. He just smiled. I was getting really sick of people smiling at me. I can't be evil. What is he talking about? I have never done anything wrong in my entire life. This must be a mistake. I must be dreaming. Then a thought occurred to me. What did you do? I asked. I don't know. They don't tell us. They said it would drive us crazy to know. Whatever. But knowing we're evil is supposed to discourage us from being bad or being something like that. Either way, the island is escape proof, so it doesn't really matter. He saw the look on my face and smiled again. You get used to it. I'm James, by the way. Lucy, I said. Then we heard footsteps behind us. I heard James mutter something under his breath, and before I could move a muscle, I saw a woman standing in front of me. Lucy, meet Sarah. Sorry, Mrs. Green. She's in charge of discipline. James was almost smiling, even though I was pretty sure we had been caught doing something very against the rules. And Sarah, or whatever her name was, wasn't smiling.